Welcome back to the grind. In this video, we're going to talk about which branches are the best for each person in a different situation. Now, that's the problem with every season is different and every player is in a different situation. So it really depends on your situation. So instead of telling you which branches to get, I'm mostly going to go through and describe what the benefit of each branch is, and then try to give a little bit of insight into what situations you might want to get certain branches. But first, it was just Mother's Day weekend, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And thanks, Ghost, for this lovely picture that he shared. And I'm happy to share it in my video. All right, so let's get into which branches are beneficial for which situation. So the first branch we see on the side here is our Borolith. This is the festive dragon. It does not provide a season key. So if you're going for a mythic, the festive usually is not in the picture. However, if you are waiting until the very end of the season, sometimes the mythic is actually good if you can only get one or two lines, or if you've already got your mythic and you're getting another line. However, this season, the festive dragon is not the most impressive. It seems like a reasonable dragon for lower level players, but not really with the ability to hit higher tiers. So for the most part, unimpressive, but in some situations, depending on which dragons you like to fly, this may be beneficial, but again, not an impressive dragon that you should change your plans for. The next branch we have is the Crystal Howitzer. This is a very impressive branch, mostly because of the number of timers that you get and gold chests that you get from completing this line. So this is a very important line that if you are able to get it, it would very much benefit from obtaining this line, even if you don't end up building the tower yet. In the future, we do not know how these resources will be obtained for the Crystal Howitzer, these electronium bars. We know that next season they will be available in a branch just like this branch, but after that, we don't know if they're going to be in chests or how they will be obtained, and it may get a lot more difficult to obtain these resources. So that's another added reason that this line is beneficial. Now, if you can't get it this season, it will be coming next season, so they have said. So planning on that might be good, especially if there's the same number of resources available within that line. So definitely a very solid line to get. I'm going to get it. I'm probably going to get up to like the price 42 at least, because I do want to get a little bit of Rashka, and I've already started it a little bit, but not high enough yet to really make videos or play around with them. So we'll move on to Rashka now. This is a fairly solid hunter if you are a very skilled and determined flyer. He has this blue cloak that does not refresh after being canceled by a blue mage, which makes him very challenging to fly because you really have to get rid of the blue mage early on, and that can be very challenging with certain setups. So if you are a very skilled flyer, it may be a valuable dragon, but if you are not, or you want a dragon that's a little bit easier to get the hang of, Rashka is probably not the dragon for you. And you can look at the Rashka video I have out, thanks to Justin's gameplay. He did a very good job of managing the blue mage and still being able to cloak and take out tough islands despite there being a blue mage. So check that out if you want, but again, not an easy dragon to fly, but I'm looking forward to playing around with them, and he'll probably be a dragon that I use in assault for lower tiers. Next we have Maya. This is the defensive rider for this season, and the stats are comparable to Leilani, just slightly better by like 1% for HP, but then it does have like a 1% decrease in attack. And I generally recommend going for HP for the defensive riders, and you can see why in any of my defensive rider videos. Go check that out. Now, if you have Atlas, you have access to much better riders such as Crom or Cassima for this season. Cassima is good if you have several flak types that will be boosted, because you can pick 2 flak types to get an extra 10% attack in HP. Crom is well-rounded, and the difference between them is very small, and it's hard to compare. So either one, depending on preference, is good. I still have Leilani. I haven't committed to a different dragon rider yet, but if nothing better comes out in the next 1 or 2 seasons, I'll probably pick Crom or Cassima, depending on what my base looks like at that time. Next, we have Astra, which was the discount line, along with the base boost, was also during the discount period. So this season was a unique thing that you could do one or two of the discount lines. Now, Astra, the reason I got Astra, well, being a hunter, I love flying hunters and learning them, and it provides runes and glyphs, which is great, but it was a discount dragon. So this is always a beneficial thing to do, especially for lower level players, to get as much of the discount done as you can. Now, as far as doing Astra after the fact, I am not super impressed with Astra. It's an okay dragon, and it does allow for some setup, but it's just a mediocre setup dragon because the entrap doesn't stay there for the next dragon. It expires after a matter of seconds, so it really just allows you to take out 1 or 2 towers on an island and then leave that island a little bit easier to defeat for the next dragon. So I probably wouldn't get Astra if it was an after the fact thing, but as much as you can during the discount, of course. Then the base boost was also during the discount. Base boost branch has a lot of resources, and it provides you a boost for your base for the season. However, it expires when the season ends. So if you're just now going to start the base boost, then it's probably not as worth it, except the fact that you get a lot of resources. But if you're going to decide between the base boost and the crystal howitzer branch, definitely get the crystal howitzer branch because there's a lot more resources available within there. Next is Nusifera, and honestly, Nusifera I feel like is a pretty solid dragon that's underrated because it has that one-shot white spell and then magic barrier. So if you are able to fire from the turn and destroy the ice flak, then you can pretty much protect yourself and take out the remaining towers without any issues. So as far as the legendary dragons this season, I would probably say Nusifera is the most well-rounded because Astra I found struggled to destroy bases. Rashka is just going to be ridiculously difficult to use to its max ability, and Aberith just doesn't have the power to destroy towers on bases, especially defended, from what I've seen and heard. So honestly, if I was to just get one legendary this season to have as a dragon, I would have done Nusifera, assuming that the discount was not Astra, But if I could have swapped out Nusifera to be the discount dragon, that's what I would have done. So especially if you're a lower level, like less than 250, Nusifera is a fairly solid dragon that will probably be useful in your roster for a little while. Even just as a cleanup dragon because it has that one-shot spell. Then we have Suresh, which is a unique rider in the fact that it has dragon invoker dragon attack and invoker dragon HP. So this is the first rider we've seen that has specific invoker stats. Now there have been a couple others that have general dragon stats, which also can be used on invokers. But if you didn't get those in the prior seasons, then they're not available anymore. So Suresh is the good option for you if you need an invoker rider. However, you do need to max it to get the most benefit. So consider that if you're able to complete the whole line and you need a rider for an invoker, Suresh is definitely a solid one to choose. Then we have the Mythics, of course. Danav has shown to be underpowered and struggles to take out bases, especially defended. Naha is a powerhouse, very difficult to destroy, to shoot down when you're defending against a Naha or a Naja. And honestly, without an ice flak on the base or now a crystal howitzer the crystal howitzer doesn't even destroy it. So without an ice flak on the base, Naha can just put the shield on and walk through the base. As long as you're able to manage your rage, Naha is very hard to shoot down. So Naha is definitely the one to go for in my opinion. Unless you don't need an attack dragon, you just want a perch dragon, then you can get Danav. But check out my Naha videos for more details on Naha and how to fly. So now the big question is, what should you do? So if I was to pick 3 branches in the pursuit of a mythic, I definitely would have gone for as much as I could on Astra and the base boost during the discount period, which is what I did. Beyond that, it really depends what you need. If you need resources, then definitely the crystal howitzer, especially because you get an extra tower. If you don't, well, honestly, everyone should go for that if they have it in their ability, which is what I'm doing for the most part. But in order to make videos, I wanted to get Rashka a little bit as well. Now, if you could only get one of the discount lines, then you were gonna get your second line started partway through the season. If you didn't get the base boost, it might not be as much benefit to do later in the season anyway. So as a second line, if you needed a rider, these are some pretty good options. A good defensive rider from Maya and a good invoker rider, or a different dragon rider as well. But this one specifically is unique because it can have invoker stats. So Suresh is a good one for that. Then if you're looking for a dragon, honestly, I would go for Nusifera for most people. Astra, I'm not too impressed with. I wouldn't really recommend it for most people. And then for Rashka, only if you're really want to excel at flying certain dragons. Hunters are usually more difficult to fly, and Rashka specifically is much more difficult than most hunters because of that blue spell. But if you're a good flyer and you want to challenge, Rashka is a very solid dragon. But really, this season comes down to the Crystal Howitzer being a very unique branch. And for everyone, I would say if it's in your ability, I would get this line. The problem is the majority of the rewards are in the last half of the line, so you really don't just want to plan on doing the first half. But that's what it comes down to for me, pretty much. The best branch this season, I would say Crystal Howitzer. The best dragon of the legendaries, I would say Nusifera is the most reliable for lower level players. But if you're a higher level player, these dragons probably aren't even going to be in your roster anyways. So I would say Nusifera is solid. So that's pretty much it for this season. I'm going to get Naha in the last couple weeks of the season, and hoping to get Rashka to the Garnet or Emerald Stone. I would love to get it higher if I can, but I do definitely want to make sure I get to prize 42 at least, maybe even 49. I don't know how much I'll be able to push the remainder of this season, but that's it. So I hope this was helpful, and good luck with the last month of your season, and I'll see you in the next video.